Hello and welcome to another MCO market update on Link. We are dealing here with the Link chart on the daily time frame. Still tracking here a bullish scenario for Chainlink, and it definitely has a realistic chance to push higher over the coming weeks and months. But we can really only, let's say, assume that, and we really only have evidence that this is happening when we get a first 5-wave pattern from the April low. So far, this is only a 3-wave move to the upside, and the market, while it can move higher, needs to still prove itself. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean we leave everything open. No, we are already tracking for higher prices. We have very, very clearly defined support levels and support areas on the smaller time frames that we use to track this uptrend. Yeah, so we can simply continue to track this uptrend based on the structure that we have, based on the microstructures. We're taking a look at the 1-hour chart because of that every single day. And in a minute, I'm also going to switch to the shorter time frame chart so that you get a really good idea of what the relevant levels are that we are now watching, that we can watch for this structure to remain valid. Okay, so we are simply going to pay close attention to the nanostructures, have support, but we can't really clearly expect support to hold until we have evidence that this uptrend is actually happening. And we really only get that piece of evidence when we get 5 waves up in what would be circle wave 1, and then the subsequent pullback would be circle wave 2, and then we can track it higher like that. But that means also that we can look forward to potentially a rally to $47 plus over the coming months or so. But if we get to $47, then we have to expect resistance there. And we also need to understand that there are 2 structures we are tracking from a bullish point of view. We also track a bearish scenario. How do we track that? Well, we've got support here and an invalidation point. So when we break below the support box, especially here at $6.90, then the bears are probably starting to take the lead. And then the red line is the invalidation point, $4.97. Any break below that red line would be strong evidence that a more substantial top has formed. This structure will be invalidated, and we really need to consider bearish options. Therefore, these levels typically act as key risk management levels, invalidation points, stop loss levels, whatever. Now, I would say we now take a look at the smaller time frame, and that gives us a really good idea of the relevant support areas which now matter. Now, that being said, this video has to be recorded at some point, so microstructures can shift when you watch the video. However, I always try to explain it in a way that you also know what would happen if certain developments take place. For example, we are dealing here with a structure that allows for a pretty direct move to the upside in this white scenario. I showed you already on the larger time frame this 5-wave move in circle wave 1, and we already have a wave 1, we have a wave 2, A, B, C. That C wave is what we track right now, assuming wave B of 3 bottomed on the 30th of April, and the C wave should be a 5-wave move to the upside. So from there then we can have a wave 4 and a wave 5, and we continue to track higher prices like that. And it's important now to keep this wave count alive, this direct uptrend that the market is holding above micro support. So we have a micro support area between $14.08 and $14.57. So as long as we're holding that micro support zone, the focus can be on higher prices. But that area also acts as a warning. So if we break below the upper support zone, the focus shifts to the lower support zone. Is this really a different scenario? Well, I would call it only a different variation of the same scenario. It just means that this B wave is extending a little bit. It's the same scenario. So we have micro support. We have main support, which is a little bit more relevant at $12.58. Only a break below this level would suggest that, this structure is starting to break down. Until we break below $14.08, the short-term focus could be on higher prices, but please note that microstructures are very, very fragile. So that's the update on Link. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.